Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt time pause, like the world tilted slightly just to let that moment happen? Not because it was magical or perfect, but because something deep in your soul whispered, "This is more than coincidence." I want to talk to you today about something sacred, something the heart knows before the mind can explain. 5 signs that God may have picked someone special, just for you. Not a fairy tale, not a fleeting feeling, but a divine alignment. Because when God writes the story, he doesn't use ink. He writes it on hearts. And his timing is never rushed, but always right. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who spent years walking through what felt like emotional wilderness. Betrayals, silence, unanswered prayers. She'd grown tired of hope. But one ordinary day, in a grocery store aisle of all places, she bumped carts with a stranger. Polite smiles, casual talk, and they walked away. But something about that brief exchange stirred something in her spirit. Days passed, then weeks, and she couldn't shake the sense that there was more. They met again. This time they spoke longer, not just about the weather, but about life, pain, grace. And in that second meeting, something clicked. Not a spark, but a peace. And peace is louder than fireworks when it's from God. The first sign God may have chosen someone for you is this: they bring you peace, not confusion. Love is not meant to make you guess your worth. It doesn't push you into anxiety or leave you wondering where you stand. God doesn't author chaos. He is the Prince of Peace. When he brings someone into your life, their presence settles the storms. It doesn't stir them. They don't complete you. God does that, but they complement the healing he's already begun in you. The second sign is alignment, not perfection. So many of us wait for perfect, but God isn't in the business of sending perfect people. He sends purposeful ones. You'll find that your paths begin to line up, not by force, but by faith. Your values resonate. Your dreams, even when different, move in the same direction. That's how God weaves 2 stories into one tapestry of purpose. Third, they speak to your soul, not just your situation. Anyone can say the right words, but when someone sees you, the you behind the mask, behind the smile, and still chooses to show up, that's divine. They'll speak life into places others overlooked. They won't just like who you are, they'll nurture who you're becoming. Fourth, they challenge you to grow closer to God, not away from him. This one's crucial. If the relationship pulls you from prayer, distances you from your faith, or silences the God voice within you, it's not from him. But when someone pushes you toward the cross, when they remind you to pray, when they lead you not with pressure but with presence, that's a sign. God sends people not just for romance but for revival. And finally, they stay. Not because it's easy, not because you're always lovable, but because they've been assigned to you. There's a weight to real love, a sacredness. When storms come, and they will, they don't run. They lean in, they pray harder, they forgive deeper. They stay not out of duty, but because somewhere deep inside, they know what you know. God did this. Now maybe you haven't met that person yet. Maybe your heart aches with the echo of waiting. Can I tell you something? That ache, that longing, it's not weakness. It's evidence you still believe. Don't rush the process. Don't settle because you're tired. God is not late. He's preparing someone who will see you, walk with you, and love you in a way that reflects his own heart. And if you have met them, then treasure them, not with possession, but with purpose. Honor what God has given, protect it, water it with prayer, guard it with grace. Because when God writes a love story, it won't always be easy, but it will be holy. And holy things are worth waiting for. Holy things are worth fighting for. So if your heart is listening tonight, don't let go of hope. Whether you're in the waiting or already in the promise, trust the author, because he's still writing, and his pen has never slipped. You're not forgotten. You're not overlooked. You're simply being prepared for something sacred. There's something incredibly powerful about peace, not the kind that's found in a quiet room or on a scenic vacation, but the kind that settles deep in your spirit when everything else feels uncertain. That kind of peace isn't something you can fake, and it's not something another person can give unless God is in it. So when we say the first sign that God may have picked someone special just for you is peace, not confusion, we're talking about something sacred, something divine, something that the world can't offer and chaos can't steal. We live in a culture that has almost trained us to think that love should be wild, unpredictable, dramatic, that butterflies mean it's real, and that if it doesn't make your heart race and your mind spiral, maybe it's not passionate enough. But let's be honest, many of us have chased people who gave us a rush, only to realize we were confusing emotional adrenaline with genuine connection. There's a huge difference between chemistry and calling, between obsession and peace. When God is in it, there's a stillness. You won't be constantly overthinking, analyzing their every word, wondering where you stand. You won't feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to show too much or too little. The right person, God's person, will not make you question your worth. They will reflect it. They'll remind you, not just with words, but with consistent presence, that love doesn't have to be loud to be real. Sometimes it's in the quiet knowing that you're seen, heard, and safe. Think about the nature of God himself. He's not the author of confusion. He doesn't tease or torment. He doesn't give you someone only to keep you guessing if they're meant to stay. If the relationship is constantly pulling you into anxiety, doubt, or emotional instability, that's not God's design. Godly love anchors you. It creates space for you to breathe, not perform, to be vulnerable, not guarded, to rest, not run. Peace doesn't mean there won't be hard days or disagreements. Of course there will be. But even in those moments, there's a foundation of trust, of security, of mutual grace. You're not bracing for the next fight or fearing abandonment. You're able to talk, to listen, to learn, and to move forward together. When peace is present, it becomes the rhythm of your connection. It's not perfect harmony all the time, but it's consistent assurance that the relationship is rooted in something deeper than feelings. There's a passage that says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." That word rule isn't passive. It means to govern, to guide, to act as an umpire. Peace is supposed to be the signal, the green light, the inner confirmation. And when you're with someone God has chosen for you, peace will often be the first sign, even before love fully blooms. You may not know exactly why you feel it, but there's this sense of calm, like your spirit recognizes something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. I've heard people say, "I just knew," not because there were fireworks, but because there was stillness, no games, no emotional roller coasters, just peace. And peace doesn't mean boring. It means secure. It means you can be fully yourself and still be fully accepted. It means you're not constantly rehearsing your words or questioning their silence. There's clarity, there's communication, there's consistency. If you're currently in a situation where you're always second-guessing, walking away only to be pulled back in, hoping they'll finally see your worth, that's not peace. That's emotional captivity. That's not how God operates. Love from God will not manipulate or gaslight you into staying. It won't play on your insecurities. It won't make you feel like you have to earn it. It will feel like rest, like home. Peace might not be the most dramatic sign, but it's one of the most reliable. It's quiet but powerful. It may not come with grand gestures, but it will come with steady presence. The person God brings will help you breathe easier, not feel like you're drowning. They will add to your life, not drain it. They'll speak life, not confusion. So trust peace, honor it, let it be the standard, not the exception, because when God writes the love story, the first chapter is often wrapped in the kind of peace the world doesn't understand, but your soul absolutely does. We often grow up with the idea that love should look perfect, flawless chemistry, shared opinions, no conflict, no doubts. We think that when it's meant to be, everything will line up neatly without struggle or compromise. But God doesn't usually work through perfection. He works through alignment. That's why the second sign that God may have picked someone special just for you is alignment, not perfection. Perfection is a myth. It's a standard no human being can meet, and yet we hold ourselves and others to it, thinking that the ideal partner must check every box on our list. But God doesn't send people who are perfect. He sends people who are willing, honest, and aligned with your purpose, your values, and your faith. The kind of alignment that doesn't just make you feel good, it makes you better. It sharpens you, grows you, stretches you toward the person you're called to be. Alignment means you're both moving in the same direction, even if your paths look different. It's not about liking all the same things or having the same personality. It's about the deeper stuff. Do your core values match? Do your lives glorify the same God? Do you see the world through a lens of shared hope and vision? Because in the end, a shared direction is far more important than shared hobbies. There's a beautiful thing that happens when you meet someone who's aligned with the purpose God placed in your life. It won't always be easy, but it will feel intentional. Conversations feel weighty, meaningful. You're not just talking about where to eat on a Friday night. You're dreaming together, praying together, planning for more than just now. There's a spiritual depth to it. You both want to serve, to grow, to impact the world, not just to satisfy your own desires, but to walk in obedience to God's plan. That kind of alignment doesn't mean you're identical. In fact, God often brings two very different people together to complement each other. One might be the visionary, the other more grounded. One might be a speaker, the other a listener. Where one is weak, the other is strong. And together they create a beautiful balance, not because they're the same, but because they are aligned in heart and spirit. Alignment also shows up in timing. Sometimes God brings someone into your life when you're both in seasons of readiness, when you've both gone through the refining fires and are finally prepared to love well, love deeply, and love unselfishly. You may not have taken the same road to get there, but you arrive ready, open, healed, surrendered. When alignment happens, it's not forced, it fits. It feels like confirmation, not confusion. But here's the truth. Alignment requires discernment. It's easy to be impressed by charm, talent, looks, or chemistry, but ask yourself the deeper questions. Does this person encourage my relationship with God? Do they honor my boundaries, my calling, my heart? Do they want to build something that lasts, or are they just enjoying the moment? Alignment means you're building on the same foundation, and that foundation has to be Christ. You might meet someone who has all the qualities you've dreamed of, and yet something still feels off. That's when you pause. That's when you pray, because if your spirits aren't aligned, no amount of external compatibility will make it right. Relationships built on surface connections will eventually collapse under pressure. But when the roots go deep, when your hearts are tethered to the same source of truth, you can weather any storm. Perfection demands performance. Alignment invites partnership. One will wear you out, the other will lift you up. One will make you constantly feel like you're not enough, the other will remind you that God is more than enough, and together you can walk in that truth. So, if you're waiting for someone perfect, you may be waiting forever, but if you're open to someone aligned, someone who shares your heart for God, who's willing to grow, who's committed to walking the journey with you even when it's messy, then you're positioning yourself for something truly sacred. God isn't writing stories that center around flawless people. He's writing stories that reveal His grace, His redemption, and His purpose through two imperfect people who are perfectly aligned for His glory. We live in a world that is loud about surface-level connections. Compliments come easy, attention is cheap, and it doesn't take much effort to impress someone for a moment. But real connection, the kind that reaches beyond the external and touches the eternal, is rare. That's why the third sign that God may have picked someone special just for you is this: they speak to your soul, not just your situation. Situational love is everywhere. It's the kind of affection that's tied to what you can offer, how you look, what you've accomplished, or how convenient your presence is at a given time. It thrives in moments when everything is going well, when life is easy and you're presenting the best version of yourself. But when life shifts, when hardship hits, when you're no longer able to give or be everything you once were, situational love fades. But soul-level connection is something entirely different. It sees beyond the highlight reel. It peers into the quiet places of who you are, the wounds, the questions, the fears, and still says, I choose you. It's not about fixing you or rescuing you. It's about knowing you. When someone speaks to your soul, they don't just affirm the parts of you that everyone praises. They recognize the parts of you that you thought no one would understand. And instead of running, they stare. They lean in. Speaking to someone's soul means being able to hear what isn't said out loud. It's a sensitivity that goes deeper than words. Sometimes it's in the way they notice when you're off, even if you smile through it. Sometimes it's in the way they remind you of your identity when you've forgotten who you are. They don't just react to your moods, they respond to your spirit. Think about how Jesus interacted with people. He never just addressed their outward condition. He always spoke to their deeper need. To the woman at the well, he didn't just offer water, he offered living water. He didn't just see her situation, he saw her soul. He acknowledged her truth, yes, but he didn't shame her. He invited her into wholeness. That's the kind of love that transforms, not because it's grand or loud, but because it's honest, gentle, and healing. When God brings someone into your life who's meant for you, they'll have that same kind of posture. They won't shy away from your story. They'll ask questions that matter. They'll remember the little things, not just out of obligation, but because they're paying attention. They'll see you, not just what you do, not just who others think you are, but you, the version of you that cries when no one's watching. The version of you that doubts your calling, the version of you that sometimes doesn't feel strong enough to carry the weight of what's ahead, and they'll speak to that person with kindness and truth. They will speak life, not just flattery. There's a difference. Flattery sounds nice but fades fast. It feeds the ego but doesn't nourish the soul. But when someone speaks to your soul, their words carry weight. They call out the gold in you. They challenge you, not out of criticism, but out of care. They remind you that you're more than your current struggle, more than your past mistakes, more than the labels the world has tried to put on you. Sometimes their soul speech won't be words at all. It will be their silence that listens without trying to fix. It will be their presence that shows up without having to be asked. It will be the quiet prayers they pray over you, the ones you never even hear, but feel in the strength they somehow give you when you didn't think you had any left. When someone speaks to your soul, you'll notice something inside you begins to heal. You'll feel seen, not just watched, known, not just noticed. And most importantly, you'll feel safe, because when love reaches the soul, it creates a sacred space where vulnerability isn't weakness, it's welcomed, where honesty isn't scary, it's freeing. This kind of connection can't be forced, it can't be manufactured, it's spiritual. It's the kind of bond that only God can initiate. And when he does, it's unmistakable. You'll know, not because it feels intense or overwhelming, but because it feels true. It feels like your heart can rest. So if someone is in your life right now who sees you like that, cherish it. And if you're still waiting for that kind of connection, don't lose heart. Because when God sends someone who speaks to your soul, it changes everything. Not because they complete you, but because they echo what God has already whispered to your heart. You are seen, you are worthy, you are deeply loved. One of the most powerful signs that God has picked someone special for you is found in the direction your heart moves when you're with them, not toward distraction, not toward compromise, but toward God. The fourth sign is this: they challenge you to grow closer to God, not away from him. There's a unique beauty in relationships that are rooted in faith. When God is at the center, everything changes, not just how you love each other, but why you love each other. It's not about fulfilling selfish needs or chasing temporary pleasure. It's about building something eternal, something holy. When someone leads you closer to God, it's not because they're perfect or preach at you. It's because their presence reflects him. Their actions align with his truth. Their love feels like grace, like mercy in motion. You'll recognize this kind of person because they care more about your soul than your status. They're more concerned with your spiritual growth than your outward image. They won't celebrate your comfort zone. They'll lovingly challenge it. They'll encourage you to step deeper into your calling, to pray more boldly, to trust more fully, not in a way that pressures you or makes you feel inadequate, but in a way that calls out the potential inside you that maybe even you've forgotten. There's something sacred about being with someone who doesn't just love you, but also inspires you to love God more. They don't compete for his place in your life, they reinforce it. They remind you to pray when you're anxious. They speak scripture over you when you're doubting. They remind you that worship isn't just for Sundays, that faith isn't just a concept, it's a way of living. And when life gets messy, instead of running from God, you run together toward him. A relationship that pulls you away from God will always cost you more than it gives. It may offer excitement or escape, but it will quietly steal your peace. You'll feel it when you start compromising, little by little, skipping prayer, making excuses, ignoring conviction. You'll start to silence that still, small voice inside. But when the relationship is from God, it will amplify that voice. It will bring clarity. It will make you want to be in his presence more, not out of guilt, but out of gratitude. This isn't about spiritual superiority. It's not about one person dragging the other to church or being the strong one. It's about mutual pursuit, a shared hunger for God, a shared commitment to righteousness. It's about sharpening each other like iron sharpens iron, holding each other accountable in love, being each other's intercessor, not just emotionally but spiritually. There's something deeply intimate about praying with and for someone. When you can hold hands and go before God together, it builds a level of trust and unity that nothing else can match. You stop being two individuals with separate lives and start becoming one heart, beating with a shared purpose. It's not just about romantic connection, it's about spiritual alignment. You're building something on the rock, not on sand. And even in times of conflict, you'll see the difference. When God is at the center, arguments don't lead to destruction, they lead to deeper understanding. You'll fight to reconcile, not to win. You'll be quick to forgive, quick to seek wisdom, quick to humble yourselves before the one who brought you together in the first place. That's what godly love looks like. It's not prideful, it's not selfish, it's not led by ego, it's led by the Spirit. Being with someone who challenges you to grow closer to God means being with someone who reminds you who you are and whose you are. They won't let you settle. They won't let you drift. They'll speak truth when it's hard. They'll cover you in prayer when you're weary, and they'll walk beside you, not ahead of you or behind you, but with you as you both follow Christ. If you've ever experienced this kind of relationship, you know it's rare, you know it's sacred. And if you're still waiting for it, don't settle for anything less. Don't lower your standards just to fill the silence. Wait for the one whose presence makes you want to worship, whose love doesn't distract you from your purpose but aligns with it. Because when someone truly comes from God, they won't pull you away from him. They'll pull you closer, step by step, day by day, deeper into the love that never fails. Love that lasts isn't proven in the easy moments. It's not revealed on sunny days during candlelit dinners or in picture-perfect smiles. The real test of love, the kind of love that makes you stop and say, this must be from God, is how it holds up when the storm hits. That's why the fifth sign that someone may be chosen by God for you is this: real love shows up and stays through the storm. When you stand at the altar and say, for better or for worse, you're not just making a poetic promise, you're declaring your willingness to fight together, to endure together, to stay planted when everything around you is shaking. But that kind of love doesn't start on wedding day. It starts long before, in the seasons where life tests your commitment, your patience, your grace. And when someone is truly meant for you, they won't just be there for the celebration. They'll be there for the struggle. It's easy to love when everything is going right, when the bills are paid, health is strong, careers are thriving, and everyone's on the same page. Love feels light. But storms are inevitable. Illness, loss, misunderstandings, setbacks, they come for all of us. And in those moments, you find out what kind of love is standing beside you. Temporary love disappears when the weather changes, but covenant love, God-authored love, digs its heels in deeper. This kind of love doesn't abandon when things get inconvenient. It doesn't turn cold when the emotions fade or when your flaws come into view. It stays, not because it's easy, but because it's committed. Because it knows that real love is a decision long before it's a feeling. And when God brings someone into your life who's truly for you, they'll choose you in the rain just as much as they choose you in the sunshine. You'll recognize them by their presence, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. They'll be the one who doesn't ghost you when you break down, who doesn't grow silent when you disappoint them, who doesn't use your weakness as a weapon. Instead, they'll sit with you, pray with you, fight for you. They won't always have the perfect words, but they'll show up with their heart open, ready to walk through the hard stuff, not away from it. There's a story in the Bible about a man named Job. When everything in his life fell apart, his health, his wealth, even his children, his wife told him to curse God and die. She couldn't handle the storm. But God never left Job. And that's the kind of love we all long for. One that mirrors God's faithfulness. One that doesn't walk out when the worst happens. One that sees your brokenness and still chooses to stay. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Because they see the value in the relationship even when it's been cracked by life. This kind of love is steady. It's not reckless, not emotionally manipulative. It's not based on how useful or fun or convenient you are. It's rooted in something deeper: purpose, promise, and divine commitment. The person God has for you will understand that love isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it looks like late-night conversations that lead to tears and healing. Sometimes it looks like holding each other through grief. Sometimes it looks like forgiving when it's hard and choosing humility when pride would be easier. Real love is forged in fire, and fire either burns away what's fake or strengthens what's real. So when you go through something hard, don't panic if the surface beauty fades for a while. Pay attention to who stays. Pay attention to who still chooses to see you with grace. Pay attention to who fights with you instead of fighting against you. God's love is enduring. It never leaves, never forsakes, and when he sends someone who truly reflects his heart, you'll recognize it in their endurance. You'll see it in how they handle conflict, how they hold you when you fall apart, how they never make you feel like a burden, even when life is heavy. It's in the storms that love is proven. And when someone sticks by you, not because everything is perfect, but because they've made a choice to love you through it, that's a glimpse of heaven on earth. That's a sign of something sacred. And that might just be the person God handpicked, just for you. There's a certain peace that comes when you're with someone who feels like home. Not because everything is flawless or because the future is perfectly mapped out, but because deep in your spirit you know you're safe. You're seen. You're not being rushed or judged or pressured to become someone else. The sixth sign that God may have picked someone special for you is this: they bring peace, not pressure. In a world obsessed with hustle, timelines, and perfection, relationships can start to feel like a race to define it, to control it, to make sure it fits into a plan. But when someone is truly from God, the rhythm of the relationship doesn't feel like a sprint. It feels like a steady walk, a peaceful pace, one that allows you both to grow, breathe, and become more fully who you're created to be without fear of losing love along the way. Pressure in relationships can come in subtle forms. The pressure to impress, the pressure to perform, the pressure to look or act a certain way just to be accepted. And while that might feel exciting at first, it's exhausting in the long run, because love was never meant to feel like a stage performance. Real love, godly love, invites you to come as you are, with all your complexities, your flaws, your unfinished stories, and still be embraced. Peace, on the other hand, is a fruit of the Spirit. It's not passive, it's not lazy, it's not indifferent. It's deeply active. It listens carefully, it gives space when needed. It moves with gentleness. When someone brings peace into your life, it doesn't mean the relationship is without challenges. It means the foundation of how you work through those challenges is calm, respectful, and rooted in trust. That peace doesn't come from compatibility alone, it comes from alignment with God. When someone is walking closely with him, they carry his nature. They don't stir up confusion, drama, or manipulation. They bring clarity. Their intentions are clear. Their communication is honest. Their love is stable, not perfect, but consistent. And in that consistency, your heart finds rest. There's a difference between being stretched and being pressured. The right person will stretch you in the best ways. They'll inspire growth, maturity, and deeper faith. But they won't pressure you to compromise your identity, your boundaries, or your walk with God. They won't rush the process of what God is doing in your life. They'll honor it. They'll give you time to heal, time to think, time to listen for God's voice, not just theirs. Sometimes people come into our lives and they push us into things we're not ready for. They rush commitment. They stir anxiety. They make us question our worth unless we're constantly proving ourselves. But peace doesn't demand. Peace invites. Peace allows you to show up authentically and still feel loved. When God brings someone into your life, their love will sound like wisdom and feel like safety. Their presence won't cause you to question your value. It will remind you of it. They won't use your past against you. They won't treat your wounds like inconveniences. They'll hold your story with care, and they'll make space for you to become. There's a scene in the Gospels where Jesus, in the middle of a fierce storm, speaks a single word over the chaos: peace, and everything settles. That's what love from God does. It doesn't eliminate every challenge, but it speaks peace into the middle of the storm. And when someone reflects that same spirit, you know they're not operating out of their own strength. They're anchored in something eternal. You'll know it's from God when you feel more at ease being yourself, when you don't have to rehearse conversations or hide parts of your heart, when you're not constantly walking on eggshells or trying to interpret mixed signals. The right person will give you emotional room to breathe. Their honesty won't feel harsh, it'll feel freeing. Their correction won't feel shaming, it'll feel loving. Because peace doesn't avoid truth, but it always delivers it with grace. And maybe the most powerful piece of all is this. When you're with someone who makes you want to trust God more, not just them, they don't become your idol. They become a reminder of how much God loves you. And that reminder settles your soul in ways no earthly romance ever could. So if someone brings peace into your life, not just comfort, not just convenience, but peace, pay attention. Peace is one of the clearest ways God shows his hand is in something. Not peace because everything is easy, but peace because everything is held in love, covered in grace, and led by him. One of the clearest signs that someone is divinely aligned with your life is that they don't just want to be part of your present, they honor your purpose. They see it, speak to it, support it, and walk with you as it unfolds. The seventh sign that God may have picked someone special for you is this. They support your calling, not just your comfort. It's easy to fall in love with someone's personality. It's even easier to fall for their appearance, their charm, or their ability to make you feel good in a moment. But when God joins two people, he isn't just joining chemistry, he's joining callings. He's connecting destinies. And the person he sends for you won't just admire you, they'll invest in the future God has planted inside of you. The truth is, not everyone is equipped to walk with you into your calling. Some people love your potential only when it benefits them. Others feel threatened when you begin to grow. But when God sends someone, they won't compete with your calling. They'll champion it. They'll push you to be faithful to the vision God gave you, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. They'll remind you of what God said when doubt tries to settle in. They'll see the anointing on your life even when you're feeling the weight of it. This kind of support goes deeper than I believe in you. It shows up in action. It looks like someone who encourages you to stay the course when you're tempted to give up. Someone who's willing to pray over your dreams, not just celebrate your wins. Someone who sees the sacrifices your purpose requires and doesn't guilt you for it, but instead offers grace and understanding. When someone is truly for you, they won't pull you away from your purpose. They won't downplay your calling to keep you within their comfort zone. They won't try to fit you into a life that looks good but isn't God. They'll make room for what's on your life. They'll ask about it. They'll listen to your heart when it aches for more. They'll push you to be obedient, not just successful, because they know that true success isn't found in applause, it's found in alignment. And when your calling takes you into unfamiliar places, when it stretches you beyond your comfort zone, the right person will walk beside you, not with resentment, but with resolve. They won't always understand the full picture, but they'll trust the God who gave it to you. That kind of support creates a foundation of spiritual intimacy that few things can match. Consider the story of Mary and Joseph. When the angel told Mary she would carry the Son of God, it was not a calling that came with comfort. It came with risk, sacrifice, and uncertainty. Joseph could have walked away. He could have chosen his reputation over her purpose. But instead, he chose to believe. He chose to stay. He chose to protect what God had placed inside her, even when he didn't fully understand it. That's what godly support looks like. It's sacrificial, it's steady, it's obedient. When someone supports your calling, they'll celebrate your victories without feeling diminished. They'll pray for doors to open for you. They'll protect your name in rooms where you're not present. And they'll confront anything, even in themselves, that tries to limit what God is doing in you. That's not control. That's covering. And this isn't just about ministry or platform callings. Maybe your purpose is to be a healer in a broken world, a creative voice, a leader, a parent, an advocate, or a quiet but powerful encourager in your community. Whatever God has assigned to your life, the right person will recognize that it matters. They won't treat your calling like a side project. They'll treat it like sacred ground. If you've ever been with someone who didn't understand or respect your calling, you know how lonely that can feel. You start shrinking, you start second-guessing. But when someone comes along and reminds you of who you are, what you carry and why it matters, it breathes life back into your bones. You don't just feel loved, you feel launched. God's design for love was never meant to be a distraction from your purpose. It was meant to fuel it, to undergird it, to make you more courageous in walking it out. The person God sends will not only love who you are today, but will honor who you are becoming tomorrow. They'll speak into it, pray into it, and stand with you as it comes to life. Because when love is from God, it doesn't just make you feel good, it helps you become who you were born to be. One of the most overlooked signs that God may have handpicked someone for you is not found in the loud declarations or the grand romantic gestures. It's found in the stillness, the quiet moments, the peace that settles deep into your soul and whispers, "This is safe, this is right." The eighth sign is this: you experience a divine sense of confirmation, not just emotionally but spiritually. God often speaks through peace, not the absence of trouble or difficulty, but a holy stillness that overrides fear and doubt. When someone is truly meant for you, it won't feel forced. You won't have to chase clarity. You won't feel confused all the time, anxious about where you stand, or exhausted from trying to read between the lines. The relationship may not be perfect, but your spirit will rest. You'll feel God's hand on it, not because everything is easy, but because everything is anchored. Divine confirmation doesn't always come in the way we expect. It doesn't always show up as an angel in the night or a prophetic word from someone else. Sometimes it's a quiet knowing in your heart, a sense that this person draws out the best in you, leads you closer to the person you were created to be, and reflects the love of God in how they see and treat you. This kind of confirmation isn't rooted in infatuation. It's deeper, it's steady, it stays when the excitement fades and real life begins. It tells you, you don't have to strive here. You don't have to be someone else to be loved. It's the kind of peace that surpasses understanding. It doesn't always make sense to other people, and it may not even align with your original plan, but it aligns with God's timing and purpose. Sometimes people wait for a booming voice from heaven or a burning bush before they believe God is in something. But more often than not, God's voice sounds like wisdom. It sounds like alignment. It sounds like everything you've prayed for coming into view, not all at once, but piece by piece, fitting together in a way that just makes sense. You'll know it's divine confirmation when the relationship doesn't just meet your wants, but speaks to your needs. It challenges you, strengthens you, brings out your purpose, and aligns with the values you've been building your life on. And you'll know it because you'll stop asking God if you should walk away every other week. The noise in your heart will quiet, and the chaos that once surrounded your view of love will start to fade. When God is in something, he brings order, he brings clarity. He doesn't play games with your heart. If you constantly feel like you're being tested or emotionally toyed with, that's not confirmation, that's confusion. And God is not the author of confusion. He doesn't lead you through manipulation or fear. He leads you through peace, truth, and revelation. Confirmation also comes through community. When someone is truly from God, the people who know you well and are spiritually grounded often sense it too. They may not be able to explain it fully, but they'll notice the change in you, your family, your friends, your mentors. They'll see that you're becoming more of who God made you to be, not less. They'll see the fruit of the relationship, the joy, the patience, the stability. Sometimes confirmation is hearing someone say, "You look so full of peace lately," and realizing it's because of this connection. And let's be honest, sometimes we ignore confirmation because it doesn't come the way we expected. Maybe we thought God's choice would check every box on our list. Maybe we thought it would look more glamorous, more exciting, or more like a fairy tale. But God isn't interested in fairy tales. He's interested in foundations. And the person he sends may not look like everything you imagined, but they'll be exactly what you needed. They'll fit your soul, not just your preferences. Trust the Holy Spirit in you. Trust the peace that lingers after prayer. Trust the way your heart feels when you're with that person, not just the butterflies, but the rest. When it's from God, there will be rest. There will be alignment, not just with your desires, but with your destiny. There will be fruit, not just feelings, and most of all, there will be the unmistakable presence of God in the center of it all. That is divine confirmation. It won't scream, it won't rush, it will quietly assure you, this is love as I intended, this is safe, "This is mine." One of the most powerful signs that someone may be chosen by God for you is that their love doesn't just stop at affection or attraction. It transforms you, not because they change who you are, but because their presence inspires growth, healing, and a deeper connection with God. The ninth sign is this: they bring out the best version of you, the version God always intended. When love is from God, it doesn't diminish you. It doesn't cause you to shrink back, compromise your identity, or walk on eggshells. It empowers you to step into your full self with confidence and grace. You don't feel silenced, small, or overlooked. Instead, you feel strengthened, encouraged, and fully seen. The right person doesn't compete with your growth. They celebrate it. They push you, not out of pressure, but out of deep belief in who God made you to be. There is something divine about being loved in a way that makes you want to become better, not because you're being judged, but because you're being cherished. True love has that effect. It shines a light on the places in you that you had forgotten. It revives your dreams. It softens your heart. It helps you see yourself through the lens of grace and possibility, not shame or failure. You'll notice it in the small things first. Maybe you find yourself becoming more patient, more intentional, more grounded. Maybe you start dreaming again after a long season of just surviving. Maybe their words remind you of promises you once believed but let go of. It's not just emotional support, it's spiritual encouragement. It's knowing that you're not just loved as you are, but called to keep growing, and that someone is willing to walk that road with you. And this isn't about perfection, it's about direction. The right person doesn't expect you to have everything figured out, but they see your direction, your heart, your efforts, your faith, and they encourage you to keep pressing forward. They don't enable your weaknesses, but they don't shame them either. They stand beside you in your process, reminding you that God is still writing your story and that you're not alone in it. When someone brings out the best in you, they don't demand that you live up to a list of expectations. Instead, they help create an environment where your true self feels safe enough to rise. That's how God loves. He doesn't guilt us into transformation. He loves us into it. When he sends someone who reflects his heart, you'll feel that same kind of love. Gentle, powerful, and life-changing. Think of how Jesus interacted with people. He didn't just tell them to be better. He called out the best in them. He spoke to Peter not as the man who failed, but as the rock he would build his church upon. He saw Zacchaeus not as a thief, but as someone worth having dinner with. He looked at the woman at the well not with condemnation, but with compassion that led her to transformation. That's what real love does. It sees the potential through the pain. It speaks to destiny even in the midst of brokenness. You'll recognize this kind of love because it will feel like a mirror, one that shows you who you really are, not just who you've had to become to survive. You'll begin to let go of the masks, the defenses, the performative parts of you, not because you're being forced, but because love has created a space where vulnerability feels like a gift, not a risk. And when conflict arises, and it won't be about winning or being right, it will be about growth, about listening, about understanding. You won't just argue to protect your ego, you'll work through things to protect the relationship, because both of you are invested in becoming the best version of yourselves, not apart from each other. A relationship from God is not a distraction from your calling or a detour from your healing. It's a catalyst. It's a sacred space where two people can fall more in love with God and with the vision he has for their lives. You'll find that the right person doesn't just motivate you, they edify you. They remind you of your worth, they stir up your faith, they challenge you to keep going when you want to quit. That's how you know it's from God, when their love doesn't just make your heart flutter, it makes your spirit rise. When you look in the mirror and for the first time in a long time you recognize the person looking back, not because they changed you, but because they loved you into becoming more fully yourself. There's a moment in every relationship where words begin to fade into the background and what speaks loudest is presence. Not just being physically near, but emotionally and spiritually invested. The 10th and final sign that someone might be sent by God for you is this: they consistently show up for you, with you, and beside you. Consistency is a quiet, powerful language. It's not flashy, it doesn't always draw attention, but over time it builds something unshakable: trust. You can't have trust without consistency. And you can't have a lasting relationship without trust. When God brings someone into your life, they don't just make promises, they follow through. They don't vanish when things get hard. They don't love you only when it's easy or convenient. They are steady, they are present, In a world full of disappearing acts and emotionally unavailable connections, showing up is rare and sacred. It's easy to say the right things, to craft beautiful words that stir emotion, but consistency, that's proven in the hard days. It's proven when life isn't poetic, when you're tired, struggling, or unsure of yourself. It's in those moments that the presence of the right person speaks volumes. They don't retreat. They don't get bored with your complexity. They stay. And staying doesn't mean stagnation. It means commitment. It means choosing you not just once, but again and again, on the days when love feels romantic and on the days when it feels like a choice. God doesn't send people into your life just to fill space. He sends people to partner with you in purpose, and partnership requires consistency. Think about the character of God. He's faithful, he's present, he's unwavering in his love. So when he sends someone for you, that person will carry his nature. They will mirror his faithfulness in the way they love you, not perfectly, but intentionally. They'll make you feel seen not just in the big highlight moments, but in the ordinary ones. They'll show up when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, or costly, because that's what love does. When someone consistently shows up, they make space for your growth. They don't punish you for having needs or label you too much. When you're struggling, they check in, they follow through. They listen, not just to respond, but to understand. And that consistency becomes a foundation you can build on, a place where your heart can finally exhale. Some of the most profound acts of love aren't dramatic. They're dependable, like the person who prays for you without being asked. The one who remembers your worries and checks on them later. The one who's willing to sit in silence with you when there are no answers. That kind of love is rare because it requires maturity. It's not just rooted in feelings, it's rooted in covenant. You'll know someone is from God, not because they say all the right things in the beginning, but because they keep choosing you when the newness wears off. When life gets real. When things don't go according to plan. And the beauty is they're not just showing up for what you can offer, they're showing up because of who you are. Because they've seen your heart, your potential, your value, and they're not walking away from it. We often think love is proven in the mountaintop moments, but it's actually proven in the valleys. Will they walk with you through grief, through waiting, through transition? Will they sit beside you when there's nothing to fix, only something to feel? Will they remind you who you are when you forget? That's the kind of showing up that reflects God's heart. Consistency is also what helps love mature. It teaches you that love is not a one-time event, but a daily decision. It's waking up and choosing grace, choosing forgiveness, choosing communication, even when emotions are low. It's building habits of presence, showing up emotionally, spiritually, mentally. It's not just being in the same room, it's being with someone in the moment, connected, present. This kind of consistency is healing. If you've ever been abandoned, overlooked, or emotionally neglected, having someone consistently show up can feel almost foreign. But it's exactly what God-designed love does. It restores your sense of safety. It helps rewrite the story you've told yourself about love and trust. It says, you don't have to earn this. I'm here. I'm staying. So if someone is steady in their love, unwavering in their support, intentional in their presence, pay attention. That's not random. That's God's fingerprint. Because when he sends someone, they don't just say, I love you. They prove it day by day in the way they show up, the way they stay, and the way they love you with consistency that reflects the heart of heaven.